Welcome back. Rare coin. Inside of the story of the 1982 Lincoln 1-cent coin begins during one of the most important transitions in the history of American coinage, a moment when the United States Mint was facing rising metal prices, economic pressure, and a serious problem that threatened the future of the humble penny itself. For decades, the American 1-cent coin had been made primarily from copper, giving it that classic reddish-brown appearance collectors instantly recognize. But by the early 1980s, inflation had pushed copper prices so high that the government was actually losing money producing each penny. Imagine that for a moment, a coin worth only 1 cent costing more than 1 cent to manufacture. It sounds unbelievable, but that crisis forced the U.S. Mint to completely rethink how the penny would be made. And that decision created one of the most fascinating and collectible years in Lincoln cent history. The 1982 coin sits directly at the center of that dramatic transformation, and because of this, collectors around the world study these coins with incredible attention, searching for rare varieties that can sometimes be worth astonishing amounts of money. When you first look at a 1982 Lincoln cent, it may appear ordinary to someone unfamiliar with coin collecting, but experienced collectors know this year is unlike almost any other. In 1982, the United States Mint produced multiple variations of the Lincoln cent using different metal compositions and different date styles. There were small date varieties, large date varieties, copper versions, and zinc versions. This created an entire maze of possibilities for collectors. And among those possibilities lies one of the most legendary modern penny rarities ever discovered. The coin was minted in Denver, which is represented by the small D mint mark located beneath the year on the obverse side of the coin. That tiny letter tells collectors the coin was struck at the Denver Mint facility, one of the major coin-producing branches in the United States. For many people, the D mint mark may seem insignificant, but in the world of numismatics, that small detail can completely change the value of a coin from 1 cent to thousands or even millions of dollars depending on rarity and condition. The front of the coin, known as the obverse, features the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. This design was originally introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, making it the first regular circulating American coin to feature a real historical figure instead of symbolic imagery. The portrait was designed by Victor David Brenner, whose initials, VDB, can still be found on the coin near the bottom of Lincoln's shoulder area. Brenner's design became one of the most iconic images in American coinage history, surviving for decades, while many other coin designs were replaced. On the upper edge of the coin appears the word Liberty, while the national motto, In God We Trust, stretches across the top. The date, 1982, and the mint mark, D, sit to the right of Lincoln's profile, creating the instantly recognizable appearance collectors know so well. The reverse side of the 1982 penny features the classic Lincoln Memorial design, which had been used since 1959. The memorial itself appears at the center, representing the monument located in Washington, D.C., where Abraham Lincoln's legacy is honored. If you look carefully at high-quality examples of the coin, tiny details inside the memorial become visible, including the faint image of Lincoln seated within the structure itself. Around the upper edge appears the inscription, United States of America, while the phrase, E pluribus unum, arches above the memorial. At the bottom rests the denomination, 1 cent. This design remained in circulation until 2008 before later being replaced by new commemorative reverse designs, and eventually the Union Shield design still used today. Now here is where the story becomes truly fascinating. In 1982, the Mint changed the composition of the penny from mostly copper to a zinc-based core with a thin copper coating. Earlier pennies contained approximately 95% copper and weighed around 3.11 grams, giving them a heavier and more solid feel. The newer zinc cents weighed only about 2.5 grams, because zinc is much lighter and cheaper. This change may sound simple, but during the transition both compositions were struck in the same year, creating multiple combinations that collectors would later study obsessively. The Denver Mint produced large-date zinc cents, small-date zinc cents, and according to long-standing collector belief, no small-date copper cents should have existed from Denver at all. For years experts believed the 1982 small-date copper cent was impossible, a coin that theoretically should never have been made. Then came one of the most exciting discoveries in modern coin collecting history. A collector eventually found a genuine 1982 small-date penny struck on the heavier copper planchet instead of zinc. This discovery shocked the numismatic world because it contradicted decades of accepted understanding about the 1982 cent varieties. Suddenly, a coin once believed non-existent became one of the rarest Lincoln cents ever discovered. Experts authenticated the coin after careful testing and weight verification, confirming it weighed approximately 3.1 grams rather than the lighter zinc standard. That single discovery transformed the 1982 penny into a legendary modern rarity and caused collectors everywhere to begin checking jars, rolls, drawers, and old collections hoping to uncover another example. The weight of these coins became extremely important because it is one of the fastest ways to identify whether a 1982 penny might be valuable. Copper versions weigh about 3.11 grams, while zinc versions weigh approximately 2.5 grams. A precise digital scale capable of measuring to at least 1 decimal place became an essential tool for collectors searching through pennies. Thousands upon thousands of people began weighing every 1982 small-date penny they could find, dreaming of discovering another rare copper example worth a fortune. This created a treasure hunt unlike almost anything seen in modern coin collecting. Suddenly, ordinary pennies that most people ignored became objects of excitement and obsession. The small date and large date differences also play a major role in identifying valuable varieties. On the small date version, the numbers appear thinner and more delicate, especially the 8 and 2, while the large date version appears bolder and thicker. The shape of the numeral 2 is especially important because it has a sharper curve and different alignment on the small date coin. Collectors often use magnifying glasses or microscopes to compare the date styles side by side. These tiny differences may seem insignificant to outsiders, but in numismatics, microscopic details can determine whether a coin is worth 1 cent or a life-changing amount of money. Over the years, rumors and exaggerated stories spread online claiming certain 1982 pennies were worth tens of millions, or even over $100 million. While such numbers are often sensationalized for attention, the truth remains that rare verified varieties can indeed sell for very large amounts depending on condition, rarity, grading, and collector demand. The authenticated 1982 small-date copper cent became one of the most famous modern era-style discoveries ever made. High-grade examples of rare Lincoln cents have sold for thousands and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction, especially when tied to unique historical minting circumstances. The excitement around the supposed $117 million valuation comes from internet speculation, viral videos, misleading headlines, and exaggerated market rumors, but those stories continue attracting millions of viewers fascinated by the idea that an ordinary penny in their pocket could secretly be worth a fortune. Collectors also pay close attention to the coin's color designation, because copper coins naturally tone and age differently over time. Professional grading services classify Lincoln cents as brown, red-brown, or red depending on how much original mint luster remains visible. A fully red uncirculated example often commands much higher prices because it preserves the bright orange-red appearance the coin had when first struck at the mint. Tiny scratches, fingerprints, discoloration, or where it can dramatically reduce value. This is why serious collectors store coins carefully in protective holders, avoiding moisture, oils, and environmental damage that could affect condition over decades. Another reason the 1982 set became so legendary is because it represents the end of an era. For generations, Americans carried mostly copper pennies in their pockets without thinking much about them. The composition change in 1982 symbolized a major economic and historical turning point. After that transition, the familiar heavy copper cent was essentially gone from circulation forever except for the thin copper coating surrounding the zinc core. Many collectors see the pre-1982 copper pennies as relics from another America, pieces of everyday history connected to decades of commerce, vending machines, newspaper stands, and pocket change culture before rising metal costs changed everything forever. As the years passed after 1982, the mystery and fascination surrounding the Denver Mint pennies only grew stronger because collectors realized they were dealing with one of the most confusing and important transition years in United States coin history. Unlike many coins that have only one standard design and composition during a single year, the 1982 Lincoln cent exists in multiple major varieties, creating a situation where even experienced collectors sometimes need magnification tools, digital scales, and detailed reference guides just to properly identify what they are looking at. The Philadelphia Mint struck both large date and small date versions in copper and zinc compositions, while the Denver Mint also produced different combinations, turning the year into a collector's puzzle that continues to attract treasure hunters decades later. Every time someone opens an old piggy bank, inherited coin jar, or forgotten collection from the early 1980s, there is still excitement because the possibility of discovering a rare variety remains alive. One of the reasons the 1982 penny became such a viral sensation online is because it perfectly combines ordinary appearance with extraordinary potential. People love the idea that something they use every day could secretly hold enormous value. Unlike rare gold coins locked inside museums or millionaire collections, Lincoln cents are familiar to everyone. Almost every American has handled pennies countless times throughout life, and because of that familiarity, stories about valuable pennies feel personal and believable. A child finding an old coin in a drawer or a cashier receiving unusual change at work creates the feeling that hidden treasure could appear anywhere at any moment. The 1982 small date copper cent became the ultimate example of this dream because experts once believed it did not even exist, yet eventually one was discovered, proving that surprises in coin collecting are always possible. The discovery process itself added to the coin's legendary reputation. The finder reportedly noticed unusual characteristics and carefully investigated the coin rather than ignoring it as ordinary pocket change. Weight testing became the key factor because the heavier copper planchet immediately separated it from the common zinc examples. Professional authentication services later examined the coin in detail to verify that it was genuine and not altered. Experts studied the date style, composition, dimensions, strike characteristics, and metallic properties to ensure it truly matched the rare small date copper combination. Once confirmed, the numismatic community reacted with amazement because this was not just another minor mint error. It was a coin that challenged decades of accepted catalog information. The copper composition itself carries major historical importance. Before 1982, most Lincoln cents contained about 95% copper with a small percentage of tin and zinc. These older coins had a distinctive ring when dropped on a hard surface and possessed a heavier, more solid feeling in the hand. However, copper prices rose dramatically during the late 1970s and early 1980s due to inflation and global market conditions. The government faced a growing problem because the intrinsic metal value of the penny was approaching or exceeding the face value of the coin itself. To solve this issue, the mint adopted a new composition using mostly zinc with only a thin copper plating on the outer surface. This reduced production costs significantly and allowed pennies to remain economically practical. That transition year accidentally created one of the most studied periods in modern coin collecting. Because both copper and zinc blanks were used during production, different combinations emerged depending on when dies were changed and which planchets were available. Some experts believe the rare 1982D small date copper cent may have resulted from leftover copper planchets accidentally being fed into presses after the transition to zinc had officially begun. Others think experimental or transitional minting procedures may explain its existence. Regardless of how it happened, the rarity became undeniable because despite millions upon millions of pennies being struck that year, only an extremely small number of this specific variety has ever been identified. Collectors searching for valuable 1982D cents often begin by studying the date style under magnification. The large date version has thicker, wider numerals, and the 8 appears especially bold. The small date variety, however, has a more delicate appearance with thinner numbers and sharper details. The 2 is particularly important because its curve and angle differ noticeably between the two styles. Once collectors identify a small date dimmer cent, they then weigh the coin carefully. If the weight is around 2.5 grams, it is the common zinc version. But if it reaches approximately 3.11 grams, excitement begins immediately because that heavier weight suggests copper composition, the combination associated with incredible rarity. The market for rare Lincoln cents exploded during the internet age because information spread rapidly through forums, videos, auction sites, and social media platforms. Stories about pennies worth thousands or millions of dollars attracted viewers everywhere. Some headlines exaggerated values dramatically, claiming certain coins could be worth unbelievable amounts like 50 million, 100 million, or even more. While professional auction results rarely support such extreme numbers, the underlying truth remains powerful because some rare coins genuinely have sold for enormous sums. Collectors understand that value depends on several critical factors including rarity, authenticity, condition, historical significance, and demand among buyers. Professional grading services play an enormous role in determining a coin's market value. Companies such as PCGS and NGC authenticate coins, assign grades, and encapsulate them in tamper-resistant holders. The grading scale ranges from heavily worn circulated examples all the way to perfect mint state grades. Tiny imperfections invisible to casual observers can mean huge differences in price. A rare coin graded MS65 may sell for far less than one graded MS67 or MS68 because elite collectors compete intensely for the finest known examples. Surface quality, strike sharpness, luster, color preservation, and absence of marks all influence grading results. The color designation on copper coins creates another layer of value. Freshly minted copper cents display brilliant red-orange surfaces, but over time exposure to air causes oxidation that darkens the metal into brown tones. Coins classified as red retain most of their original mint color and are usually the most valuable. Red-brown coins show partial toning, while fully brown examples have darkened significantly with age. Collectors pay premiums for coins with vibrant original surfaces because such preservation becomes increasingly difficult over decades. A rare variety with strong red coloration can command dramatically higher prices compared to darker examples. Another fascinating aspect of the 1982D cent story is how ordinary people became treasure hunters almost overnight. Across America, individuals began checking change jars and penny rolls purchased from banks. Coin shops reported increased demand for digital scales and magnifying equipment. Some collectors searched through thousands upon thousands of cents hoping to find a rare small-date copper example hidden among common coins. The excitement resembled a nationwide scavenger hunt fueled by the possibility of life-changing discovery. Even today, many people continue searching because so few confirmed examples exist that collectors believe more may still remain undiscovered in circulation or forgotten collections. Counterfeits and altered coins also became a serious issue because whenever valuable rarities gain attention, scammers attempt to exploit collectors. Some individuals altered dates or manipulated coins to imitate rare varieties. Others copper-plated zinc coins or attempted to fake weights. This is why professional authentication remains essential before assuming any unusual coin possesses major value. Genuine rare coins undergo detailed examination using advanced equipment and expert analysis to confirm authenticity beyond doubt. Serious collectors understand that excitement alone is never enough. Proper verification is critical in the numismatic world. Beyond financial value, the 1982 penny also represents an important cultural artifact connected to American daily life. Pennies may seem insignificant individually, but billions circulate through countless transactions every year. They pass through restaurants, grocery stores, gas stations, vending machines, and family piggy banks, quietly becoming part of everyday experiences across generations. A single penny might travel across multiple states, pass through hundreds of hands, and survive decades before finally being recognized as collectible. That journey gives coins a unique human connection unlike many other antiques or investments. The Lincoln Cent series itself remains one of the most beloved coin collections in American history because it spans generations and offers something for everyone. Beginners can start searching pocket change at almost no cost, while advanced collectors pursue rare key dates worth enormous sums. The 1982 varieties brought renewed excitement to the series because they proved that even modern coins could contain unexpected rarities. Before that discovery, many collectors assumed only older 19th century coins held major hidden treasures. The existence of the rare 1982 small-date copper cent shattered that assumption and reminded the collecting community that surprises can still emerge from relatively recent pocket change. For YouTube audiences, stories like this become irresistible because they combine mystery, history, economics, and the thrill of hidden treasure into one narrative. Viewers imagine themselves discovering a fortune inside a forgotten jar of coins. Every detail adds suspense, from identifying the mint mark to checking the date style to weighing the coin and realizing it might be the rare copper version collectors dream about finding. That emotional excitement is exactly why videos about rare pennies continue attracting millions of views online, turning humble 1-cent coins into symbols of possibility, luck, and unexpected wealth. What makes the 1982 Lincoln Cent even more fascinating is the psychological effect it has had on collectors and ordinary people alike, because this tiny coin transformed the way many individuals look at everyday money. Before stories about rare pennies spread across the internet, most people barely glanced at coins in their pockets. Pennies were often ignored, tossed into jars, left under car seats, or abandoned in drawers because their spending power seemed almost meaningless in the modern economy. But once reports emerged about certain pennies being worth thousands, or even potentially life-changing amounts of money, suddenly millions of people started paying attention to details they had never noticed before. People began examining dates, mint marks, and colors under bright lights late at night, hoping to uncover hidden treasures sitting unnoticed for decades. The Denver Mint itself has a long and important history in American coin production. Located in Colorado, the facility became famous for striking massive numbers of coins distributed throughout the western United States. Coins from Denver carry the small D mint mark that collectors immediately recognize. During the early 1980s, the mint was operating under enormous pressure because demand for circulating coinage remained extremely high. Billions of pennies were needed every year for daily commerce, and the transition from copper to zinc had to occur efficiently without disrupting production. In such an environment, small mistakes or transitional anomalies could occur, which is exactly why the 1982 small date copper cent became possible in the first place. Experts often describe the coin as a transitional rarity, meaning it was created during a period when the mint was changing materials or production methods. Transitional coins hold special appeal because they capture a precise historical moment frozen in metal. Similar rarities exist throughout coin history whenever governments altered compositions due to war, inflation, or shortages of strategic materials. During World War II, for example, the United States temporarily produced steel pennies in 1943 because copper was needed for military equipment and ammunition. Collectors today still treasure those wartime cents because they symbolize a dramatic chapter in history. In a similar way, the 1982 composition change reflects economic realities of the era and marks the end of traditional bronze Lincoln cents that had circulated for generations. One particularly interesting detail involves the sound and feel of copper versus zinc cents. Experienced collectors can sometimes distinguish them without even looking because copper coins feel heavier and produce a slightly different tone when dropped gently on a hard surface. Zinc pennies, by comparison, often sound duller and lighter. Over time, many zinc cents also developed corrosion problems because if the thin copper plating becomes damaged, the zinc core underneath can deteriorate rapidly. White corrosion spots, bubbling surfaces, and structural weakness became common issues on later pennies. Older copper cents generally age more gracefully, which is another reason many collectors prefer them. The hunt for rare 1982 pennies also created a boom in coin roll searching. This hobby involves obtaining rolls of pennies from banks and carefully examining each coin one by one. Some collectors search thousands of coins every week, checking dates, mint marks, varieties, and errors. While most searches reveal only common coins, the excitement comes from the possibility that something extraordinary might appear unexpectedly. The discovery of even one rare variety can justify years of searching. Stories of lucky finds spread rapidly within the numismatic community, encouraging more people to join the hunt. Condition remains one of the most important factors in determining value. A heavily worn 1982 penny found in circulation may still be collectible if it belongs to a rare variety, but pristine uncirculated examples command far greater premiums. Coins that were stored carefully from the moment they left the mint often retain sharp details and brilliant surfaces that collectors admire. Tiny scratches called contact marks occur when coins bump against one another during transportation and storage. Fewer marks generally mean higher grades and stronger market prices. Under magnification, professional graders examine every detail including Lincoln's hair, cheek, jawline, lettering sharpness, and the condition of the fields, which are the flat surfaces around the design. The idea of a penny reaching extraordinary values may seem absurd to outsiders, yet the rare coin market has repeatedly demonstrated that collectors are willing to pay astonishing sums for unique items. Throughout history, certain coins have sold for millions because they combine rarity, historical significance, and intense collector demand. The famous 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle, for example, became one of the most valuable coins ever sold. Rare silver dollars, nickels, and cents have also broken records at auctions. While the rumored $117 million valuation associated with the 1982 penny is largely exaggerated internet hype rather than a confirmed market sale, the fascination persists because people understand that truly rare coins can indeed become incredibly valuable over time. Another reason these stories spread so widely is because coin collecting combines history with hope. Unlike many hobbies requiring expensive equipment or specialized access, coin hunting feels accessible to everyone. A rare baseball card may require collectors to purchase sealed packs, but valuable coins could theoretically appear in ordinary change. That accessibility creates emotional excitement. Every old jar of pennies becomes a potential treasure chest. Grandparents' collections suddenly seem mysterious and important. Children learn to inspect dates and mint marks with curiosity, dreaming of discovering the next legendary rarity hidden among common coins. The Lincoln Cent series has produced many famous key dates over the decades. The 1909 South VDB Center remains legendary because of its low mintage and historical importance as the first Lincoln Cent ever issued. The 1914D and 1931S cents also became highly valuable due to limited production numbers. Then, there are dramatic error coins, like the 1955 double die cent, where the lettering appears strongly doubled because of a die misalignment during production. Collectors study these coins intensely because each tells a different story about American minting history. The 1982D small date copper cent joined this legendary group because it combined rarity with modern accessibility, proving that important discoveries were not limited to ancient or 19th century coins. Technology also changed the way collectors search for rare coins. Digital gram scales became inexpensive and widely available, allowing ordinary hobbyists to test coin weights accurately at home. Online databases, discussion forums, and video platforms spread information faster than ever before. Collectors could compare photographs, learn identification techniques, and discuss discoveries with experts worldwide almost instantly. This interconnected community fueled even greater excitement surrounding the 1982D penny, because every newly discovered example would immediately become major news in the numismatic world. Some collectors focus specifically on error coins and transitional varieties because they represent mistakes or anomalies that escape normal mint procedures. Errors can include double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, wrong metal compositions, and many other unusual characteristics. Most coins are produced according to strict standards, so when something abnormal occurs and survives quality control, collectors often become fascinated by the result. The rare 1982D small date copper cent occupies a special place in this category because it is not simply damaged or visually strange. Instead, it represents a coin that technically should not exist according to standard production records. There is also a strong educational aspect to collecting coins, like the 1982D cent. People researching these coins often learn about metallurgy, economics, American history, manufacturing processes, and grading standards along the way. Understanding why the mint changed compositions requires knowledge of inflation and metal markets. Learning how dies create designs introduces concepts of industrial production and engineering. Even something as simple as coin weight teaches precision measurement and material science. In this way, a tiny penny becomes a gateway into much larger subjects connected to history and technology. The emotional side of collecting should never be underestimated either. Many collectors remember searching coins with parents or grandparents during childhood, creating memories tied directly to the hobby. Old penny albums filled year by year became family traditions for generations of Americans. Discovering a rare date in pocket change produced excitement and accomplishment. The 1982D story taps deeply into those emotions because it reminds collectors that even today the possibility of discovery still exists. Despite advanced technology and decades of searching, hidden rarities may still remain unnoticed somewhere in circulation. Auction houses and coin dealers closely monitor any new discoveries related to rare Lincoln cents because the market remains extremely active. When authenticated examples appear publicly, prices can rise rapidly due to intense competition among collectors. Wealthy numismatists often seek unique pieces to complete elite collections, and truly rare varieties sometimes become centerpieces displayed proudly for years. Even rumors of new discoveries generate excitement, because population numbers remain so small. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of the 1982 penny phenomenon is how a simple one-cent coin became part of modern treasure hunting culture. Television shows, YouTube channels, online forums, and social media posts turned the coin into a symbol of hidden fortune waiting to be discovered. Every detail matters, from the shape of the numbers and the date to the precise weight measured on a digital scale. A coin small enough to fit on a fingertip suddenly carries stories about history, economics, mystery, rarity, and dreams of incredible wealth, proving that sometimes the most ordinary objects can become the most extraordinary treasures. As interest in the 1982 Lincoln cent continued spreading across the world, the coin gradually became more than just a collectible piece of metal. It evolved into a symbol of possibility, curiosity, and the idea that history can hide in plain sight. People who had never cared about numismatics suddenly found themselves opening old jars of coins inherited from relatives, checking every penny under bright lamps late at night, comparing date styles on kitchen tables, and weighing coins one after another with growing excitement. Entire communities formed online where collectors shared discoveries, photographs, theories, and stories about searching through thousands of pennies hoping to uncover that one impossible coin everyone dreams about finding. The incredible attention surrounding this penny also revealed how deeply connected coins are to everyday human life. Unlike museum treasures locked behind glass, pennies travel through society constantly. They pass through countless hands, cash registers, restaurants, gas stations, vending machines, charity jars, and pockets. A single penny minted in Denver during 1982 may have crossed multiple states over decades, survived recessions, family moves, forgotten storage boxes, and years of circulation before finally being examined carefully by someone who recognized its importance. That journey gives the coin a strange kind of living history, almost as if every scratch and mark carries traces of the people who once held it. Collectors often describe rare coin hunting as part science and part treasure hunt. The scientific side involves precision, knowledge, and patience. Weight measurements must be accurate. Date styles must be studied carefully. Composition must be verified properly. Authentication requires expertise, because the market is filled with altered coins and false claims. But the treasure hunting side is what captures people's imagination. The idea that an ordinary-looking penny could secretly be worth a fortune creates excitement unlike almost any other hobby. Every roll of coins from a bank becomes a mystery waiting to be solved. Every forgotten drawer becomes a possible hiding place for history. The 1982 penny also teaches an important lesson about rarity itself. Most people assume rarity means something old, ancient, or visually dramatic, but numismatics proves rarity can emerge from tiny unnoticed differences. Two pennies may look almost identical to the untrained eye, yet one might be worth only 1 cent while the other could sell for thousands because of a slight variation in composition or date style. That reality completely changes the way collectors view coins. Suddenly every detail matters. The thickness of a number, the weight of the metal, the sharpness of a strike, or the placement of a mint mark can transform an ordinary object into a legendary rarity. Even today, decades after the coin was minted, the search continues. Collectors still examine 1982 pennies, because so few confirmed rare examples exist that many believe additional coins may still remain undiscovered somewhere in circulation or hidden inside old collections. This ongoing possibility keeps the story alive year after year. New generations hear about the coin and begin searching for themselves, continuing a cycle of excitement that refuses to disappear. Few modern coins have achieved this level of legendary status, especially coins that originally entered circulation as common pocket change. The design of the Lincoln cent itself also adds emotional depth to the story. Abraham Lincoln remains one of the most respected figures in American history, remembered for preserving the Union during the Civil War and ending slavery. His portrait on the penny connects the coin directly to larger themes of American identity and history. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side further strengthens that symbolism, creating a design recognized by generations around the world. Because the Lincoln cent circulated for so long with relatively few design changes, people formed personal memories connected to it. Children saved pennies in piggy banks. Families rolled coins together for extra money. Lucky pennies were carried in pockets for years. The 1982 rarity emerges from that familiar everyday background, making the story feel even more personal and relatable. The market for rare coins can also be unpredictable and emotional. Prices rise and fall depending on demand, publicity, economic conditions, and collector interest. A single viral video or major auction result can suddenly increase public attention dramatically. Stories claiming the 1982 penny is worth $117 million spread rapidly online because such headlines capture imagination instantly. In reality, professional collectors and auction experts rely on verified sales and authenticated examples rather than rumors. But the exaggerations themselves reveal how powerful the fascination has become. People want to believe that unimaginable value could be hiding inside something as ordinary as a penny. Another fascinating aspect of the coin is how it represents the end of traditional American copper cents. After 1982, the United States fully transitioned into zinc core pennies with copper plating. That means older copper cents now belong to a completely different era of minting history. Some collectors even separate pennies by sound, feel, and appearance because the older copper coins possess a distinct character the newer zinc versions lack. Over time, this difference became symbolic of changing economic realities in America. Rising costs forced even the smallest denomination coin to evolve, and the 1982 transition year captured that transformation forever. For serious collectors, owning a rare transitional coin is about more than money. It represents discovery, historical importance, and connection to one of the most talked about mysteries in modern numismatics. A verified 1982 small date copper cent is not merely a penny. It is evidence of a unique moment inside the mint's production history, a physical object that should theoretically never have existed according to normal expectations. That contradiction gives the coin almost mythical status among collectors. And perhaps that is the reason this story continues captivating millions of people around the world. The 1982 penny reminds us that extraordinary things can hide inside ordinary places. It proves that even in a world dominated by technology and information, mysteries still exist waiting to be uncovered. A tiny 1-cent coin, overlooked by countless people for decades, became one of the most famous modern rarities simply because someone looked closely enough to notice what everyone else ignored. So the next time you hear coins rattling inside an old jar, or notice a forgotten penny lying at the bottom of a drawer, remember this story. Remember that somewhere out there, hidden among billions of ordinary coins, rare treasures may still survive unnoticed. The 1982 Lincoln cent became legendary not only because of its value, weight, design, rarity, or market significance, but because it transformed a simple everyday object into a symbol of hope, curiosity, and discovery. And that is what makes coin collecting so powerful. Every coin carries a story. Every detail matters. And sometimes, the smallest piece of metal can become the greatest treasure of all.